Yo, what is up, guys? It's Talon. So today we have like the biggest patch pretty much of the entire year. I mean, I know the year just started, but pretty much of all of 2024. I can't think of a bigger patch than this durability patch. And so we're going to go over everything, all of the new patch notes, everything like that. Now, I'm not really a patch notes diver. I don't dive deep into the patch notes. I like giving you guys an overview, letting you know what's happening. But I'm not going to go into the detail of every small number, every single specific change that's happened, because that would take hours of your time, and I don't want to do that. So the goal is to give you guys an overview, give you my general thoughts on it, and keep it as brief as possible. But this will be a bit of a longer video, possibly because of the fact that it is a large patch. So getting right into it, starting off, we have Rumble coming into the game on January 9th. So basically right when the patch drops, should be tomorrow, I believe. Rumble will be in the game. Obviously a really cool champion. I mean, he's usually a really strong AP top laner. I think he has a really strong lane phase. Don't know much about him, but we'll get more into him. We'll potentially learn him. We'll see what we think about that. Gnar is also coming later, and Poppy as well is coming later. So I'm really looking forward to Gnar, especially. Definitely going to grind that champion when it comes. So anyways, going right into the actual gameplay changes. We're only going to go over the gameplay changes. Don't care about all of the other BS, just the gameplay. We have what's called the Bandle Rift now. So basically, a lot of different changes coming with the Bandle Rift. And so starting off, we have Enchanted Mushrooms. And basically what these do is once the game reaches 1 minute, every 3 seconds a mushroom spawns. Killing that mushroom will give you gold, and that mushroom will spawn behind your outermost turret. So if you have 3 turrets up in the mid lane, for example, it'll spawn behind your closest turret, towards the mid lane. And then, if you only have an inhibitor, it'll spawn behind the inhibitor, whatever. This is going to make it easier for players who have, weaker early game champions who have weaker early games to still get some gold just by sitting under their turrets, grabbing those mushrooms and whatever. I'm not a big fan of this, but it'll make scaling champions better. So definitely I think scaling champions with this change will become stronger overall. Then after that, they're retaining the buff enchant. From 7.5 minutes you can share buffs. So basically you kill, jungle kills the red buff, the circle spawns, and then someone can go and grab it, just as it's always been. But now 12 minutes into the game, if a jungler kills the red buff or the blue buff, the entire team that is alive now gets the blue buff. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a new change. Again, no specific thoughts on that. I don't think it's really a big deal. Cool, now people have red and blue later in the game. Doesn't really change that much, honestly, but it's a cool little change. They did that on PC, so now they're bringing it here as well. After that, we have Enchanted Gates. So they're going to be very similar to the Hex Gates, but they're going to be slightly different. So from 7.5 minutes to 11.5 minutes, there's going to be 4 pairs of one-way gates that take you from your base to your jungle. So basically, you're going to be able to go to your own jungle really quickly. Then 12 minutes onwards, you'll now have ones that go back and forth from your jungle to the enemy jungle. So it'll make invading and stuff like that a lot easier overall. And I'm going to be talking a lot here, so I'll be taking breaths sometimes when I do talk. So we're going to try to one-shot, the entire patch going through all of it. But basically, again, that's going to be the new Hex Gates, essentially. They're going to work the same way that normal Hex Gates would work, except now these gates will have a 15-second cooldown instead of a 45-second cooldown. After that, another new mechanic is the Enchanted Ensemble. It's basically the new Rift Herald. So 5 minutes into the game, the new Rift Herald will basically spawn. And then, this explains some of the how it works in terms of attacking you, everything like that. We're not really going to go into detail. It's pretty straightforward how it attacks you. It works pretty much the same way anything does. But then once you kill it, that's what we care about. So the buff that it gives once you kill it, 75% reduction of your cooldowns of whoever kills it. So you can it can be nice for combat. You can, smite it, whatever, and you can go and fight right away if people are fighting you over it. So that can be really interesting. I think that's a pretty cool mechanic. After that, the killer can summon the ensemble, and it will just basically destroy the turret like a Rift Herald would. And then after the Rift Herald part of it charges, it'll split up into 3 mini turret type things that will all attack the turret as well. Again, we're going over the brief overview. If you want to go in detail, read the patch notes yourself. We're just going to give you guys an overview for those who are too lazy to read and just want to kind of understand what's going on. So after that, we have the Baron Nashor now as well. So Baron still spawns at 12 minutes and respawns every 3.5 minutes as normal. Slaying it gives you, the same things. You get attack damage, ability power, armor, magic resist, same things you always got. And now the only difference is that the Baron will have 2 melee minions as always. It'll have a siege minion, one that just does basically, range damage. And then it'll have an Enchanted Trumpet minion, which is what's new. And basically this will heal the other minions, as well as using basic attacks. So it's essentially a healer minion, to make it very simple. So once you get that Baron, you'll have a healer minion in your waves now as well. And all of your waves, when you have that Baron, as they spawn, will get immediately Baron buffed. So it'll be really good for pushing really good game-ending objective. Then they just talk about the Baron's abilities, basically what it does in terms of fighting you again. That's pretty much how these things always work, so I'm not going to go over that. Then Elder Dragon, the chain is being removed from Elder Dragon. It's going back to a burn with true damage, and they're buffing the burn so that you can end games quicker because of the durability patch, which we will now get into. So basically, again, a burn mechanic on the Elder Dragon now that does true damage. It's going to be super OP, as it always is. That's kind of the point of Elder Dragon, is to be OP. So if you get it, you pretty much win the game. Simple as that. After that, we have what they're calling Champion Endurance Changes, basically a durability patch. If you guys know from PC, they're increasing every champion's some level or some form of their endurance, whether it's health, health per level, armor per level, anything like that. Basically, any type of armor, magic resist, health, all these things are getting buffed. Some champions are getting all of them buffed. Some are getting a certain, some of those things buffed and others not touched. Basically, every champion is going to be tankier, so you won't get one shot as much, which is a kind of nice thing. The damage does feel really high in the game right now, so I think that's a really good thing as well. And then some champions are getting some nerfs and buffs and stuff, so we will go over that really quickly. So starting off, Lux is going to do more damage to monsters and minions, so she has better wave clear and stuff like that. Diana, lower damage in the jungle, her second ability getting lower damage as well, and her ultimate getting lower damage as well. So they're nerfing Diana, really good nerf in my opinion, because she was really, really strong. Again, we'll go over these pretty quickly. Singed, gonna have less base magic resist, and his fling ability will no longer be uninterrupted, so you can CC him while he's dashing towards you. And the cooldown is no longer removed if you stasis or Zanya's or whatever. So now, you can stasis it, and it can be more beneficial. And they're also lowering the speed of the dash. So overall, Singed getting a pretty solid nerf. Kennen now getting a buff. He's getting bonus damage on his second and third ability. Basically all you need to know about that. Kennen going to be a little bit better now. I think Kennen overall is going to feel pretty nice this patch, honestly. Teemo getting a bit of buff on his third ability. Mumu getting a bit of buff on, I think this is his second and third abilities. He's getting tankier. So his third ability will now scale better with armor and magic resistance. And his second ability does more damage. After that, we have Fizz. He's getting bonus damage on two of his abilities. I think this is his second and third ability. Not 100% sure, but pretty sure that's what it is. Porky, first ability getting a bonus damage, and his base damage going up as well. So again, I told you guys we're going through this quick. We're just going to give you guys a general overview, like I said. And so now we have the support, and this is, I think, one of the coolest changes, is they're changing the support lane a bit. They're removing the typical support items that we had. And now they're having some of these new support items as well in the game being added. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. And overall, we'll go through all of those here. So starting off, we have the Forbidden Idol. Basically, it's a 900 gold item, gives you some health, some ability haste. And this is a new stat they're adding to a lot of support items, which is heal and shield strength. So if you buy this item, your healing and your shielding will be increased. So a lot of supports are going to want to buy these types of items now. And so this one is going to just be a Ring of Revelation and 500 gold to finish this. And then we have some full items. Obviously that was just a 900 gold item, but here we have some full items. Panic Rockern is going to be a tank item, which is going to give you health. It's going to give you magic resist and base health regen. And then the passive of it is basically going to be similar to Ma, where after not taking damage for 12 seconds, you'll get a magic shield. So it's going to be a really good tank item against heavy AP teams. So overall, AP champions getting a bit of nerf in that sense, but AP champions are really good at scaling, and I think AP champions are overall going to still be really good on the patch. Then we have, I love this item, Yordle Trap. I think Yordle Trap sounds really fun. 2,500 gold is going to be 350 max health, 40 armor, and 15 ability haste. And then after you CC someone, so you apply crowd control, you get 30% movement speed for 3 seconds. You mark the target, reducing their armor and their magic resistance. And then if they die within those next 5 seconds when they're marked, then you get bonus gold and allies get bonus gold. The total gold will be 200 or 300. So if like 3 people are nearby and the bonus was 300, each person would get 100, something like that. Is how I imagine it working. And then the bonus gold is only every once per 10 seconds. So it's kind of similar to a Pike ult in some ways in terms of that gold getting once someone dies. So I think that's really fun. I'm really excited for that item. Then they have a new enchant called Dreammaker. Basically, you get a blue and a purple bubble. And if you heal or shield people, then those bubbles get to the ally. So basically it's a support enchant, and those bubbles, one of them, the blue bubble, will reduce damage taken by your teammates for the next however many seconds, 3 seconds. And the purple bubble will grant bonus magic damage on the next hit. So basically it's going to be a new enchant for supports to buff up their teammates. Then they're removing the Hextech items, and they're removing Abyssal Mask and Revival Enchant. However, regular Soul Stealer, Stormrazor, Cleaver, and Zeke's are coming back. They're also adding the cleanse spell, which is a 100-second cooldown, and it's pretty similar to QSS. It removes spell debuffs affecting your champion and grants immunity to disables for the next 0.75 seconds. So you can remove Ignite, for example. You can remove Exhaust from yourself. You can remove CC, you know, if you get stunned or whatever. All of these different things. So it's going to be really good for ADCs, especially to avoid getting, you know, CC'd into heavy CC comps. Then we have Exhaust. Exhaust is getting a nerf and a buff. So it will now reduce your movement speed by less. It used to reduce your movement speed by 60%, and now it will reduce it by 35%. However, the range of it will be increased by 100. So it's going to have longer range, going to be easier to apply, but it's not going to be quite as effective when you do apply it. Then we have Heal. Heal is going for a 110-second cooldown to 100-second, is getting a little bit more healing as well, and the movement speed will last for an extra second. Barrier getting a bit of a buff to the shielding as well, going from 110 to 450 to 120, 560. So again, slight bonus there, and then it'll last for an extra 0.5 seconds. Now they're adding some interface and control things, which I thought were kind of interesting, some of them. So if you switch your active enchant now, so say you had a stasis and then you switch it to a QSS, there's no cooldown penalty, so you can immediately use the QSS now. But if you switch your stasis and your stasis was on a 50-second cooldown, then it will go on cooldown as well. But the QSS would go on a 20-second cooldown because the cap is 20 seconds. So I really like this change because now you can quickly switch to, say, a teleport if you had a stasis up and you need to teleport right away or something cool like that. Then they're adding a self-cast button, which is basically going to make it easier to cast things on yourself. So essentially, you can drag it, I believe, to the self-cast sort of button, and then it'll just immediately put the ability on yourself. So if you've ever played Lissandra and you try to Lissandra ult yourself, but you accidentally target lock onto someone, and then you end up, you know, using the non-stasis ultimate, this will be really, really nice for you. So I would say Lissandra players and yeah, stuff like Lulu as well will be the happiest about this change. Then they optimize some things here. Again, the main thing that's kind of cool is the Victor and Rumble abilities will now have like better aiming. Honestly, I don't even know how their aiming works exactly because I've never played these champions before. I've never played Victor before, but they have optimized it a bit, so you can read through this here yourself if you're interested in that specific part. And then we're going to skip through all of these changes. You can see basically every champion getting more health, getting more armor, getting more, you know, magic resist, whatever. So we're just going to skip through this because, you know, I'm not going to read through every single champion. That would be pretty pointless. But overall, you can see literally every champion becoming tankier, getting buffed. In terms of tankiness, so this is going to probably make champions with sustained damage better and burst champions worse. Burst champions would be assassins like Zed, Echo, Diana, whatever. And, you know, sustained champions would be, well, one like ADCs, mages, you know, champions that are more like this. Darius, you know, all these different champions that basically have sustained damage. They're overall going to be buffed. Tank killers are going to be a bit buffed. Items that kill tanks, these types of things, all going to be a bit better now. And then they're doing similar things to items, so they're basically making it so items give less shielding, less healing, things like this. We'll read through some of them, but we're not going to go through every single change because, again, they're basically anything that heals or shields you is getting nerfed. So if we go through Gargoyle, for example, originally you would gain, you know, what it says here, but now you're gaining a shield that does 28% of max health, which is actually slightly more, but the shield value only increases by 14% instead of by 200%. Of your max health, but here it's 14% per enemy, capped at 3, so it could be 42% by 3 enemies, whereas old Gargoyle was 200%. So Gargoyle is going to suck now. Basically, you should never build Gargoyle anymore. It's going to be a completely useless unbought item at all points in times. Really, 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 really bad item now. Never buy it. Anyways, going on to Heartsteel, again, you see Heartsteel is getting a similar thing. It's going to now give you a little bit less your max health. Bloodthirster, less healing. Blade of the Rune King, less healing. Death Dance, less healing for ranged champions. Sunderer, less healing. Eclipse, less shielding. Sundered Sky, less healing. Again, a little less damage as well on Sundered Sky. Crown of the Shattered Queen, the AP item that gives you a spell shield. Now going to reduce damage by 40%, so to 50%. Riftmaker, less healing. Warmogs, less healing. Fimbulwinter is going to be less shielding. Mantle, less healing. Again, I know I'm going through it quick. That's kind of the point. Vampiric Scepter, less healing. Harmonic Echo, less healing, or less ability power. Actually, this is a little bit different. So here, we'll start actually talking through these specifically now. Harmonic Echo is now going to give you 100 health instead of, it didn't give you any health before. It's going to give you less AP, and then it's going to do that thing I told you guys about earlier that they're adding to support items, which is increase your heal and your shield strength. So again, Really nice for support champions to now get these sort of item buffs where these items are really being tailored towards them with the healing and shielding strength and everything like that. I've been talking a lot. I need to take a breath. Okay, I took a breath. I decided to breathe. I know I haven't probably breathed in like 20 minutes, but or however long I've been recording this. All right, going on to the next thing. So now harmonic echo as well. Also, again, they are reducing the healing. So now it only restores health to the target instead of up to 3 nearby allies. And then they actually restore more health to that individual ally. So instead of 130 plus 10%, it's going to be 150 plus 15% ability power. So it's going to be better at healing one person, but obviously not going to heal people around. And then a new thing is if the target's health is below 40%, the healing potency is increased by to 150% of the original. So basically going to do more healing when people are low. Overall, harmonic echo is going to be an extremely OP item right now, in my opinion, based on these changes. For any enchanter champion, it's going to be very good. After that, we have staff of flowing waters. Similar thing, now gives you more health, less AP, and the healing and shielding strength thing. Ardent Sensor, less AP, now has the healing and shielding strength thing. Protector's Vow, more HP, now has the healing and shielding strength thing. Again, I know it's very straightforward. Again, we're giving you guys an overview of this type of stuff. I think It's Stewart has probably a bit of a more detailed video if you want to go into the more specific details of it. So check It's Stewart out if you want to see one of those types of videos. Redemption, same thing as the other items. Randuin's Omen is getting a bit of a change here, so we'll talk about this one. So here, they're removing the old passive, and now instead, when you're crit, you will gain a stack. Each stack gives you 5% crit damage reduction, so you take less damage from people who are critting you. And then once you reach 20 stacks, you get more movement speed and slow resistance. Basically, it's still going to be an anti-crit item, but they're changing how it works a bit. So before you would get healed when those stacks come, now you get the shield or the slow resist and the movement speed. So overall, still an anti-crit item, still going to be good in the same situations. Now Soul Stealer as well is now going to have less movement speed stolen and less ability haste stolen. Storm Razor is going to have less movement speed stolen, and it's going to increase your movement speed by less. Zeke's Convergence is going to do less damage and have a lower movement speed reduction. Now for runes, sudden impact. Now when you dash, you're no longer going to get the pen. Now you just get true damage dealt to people. So I think it's going to be a bit weaker overall. But I'm not exactly sure on the math of that, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be weaker overall. Grasp of the Undying now does less damage overall. Instead of it having, the bonuses based on your AD and AP, the bonus is only based on your max health as it was before. You're going to get a bit more healing done though, and you're going to get a bit more max health. So it's going to have more healing, but less damage basically for Grasp. Overall, it's going to be probably a pretty similar strength as a rune. Brutal is getting less damage, so it's going to be a pretty big nerf. Probably going to be a pretty useless rune on most champions. Arcane Comet is getting a damage. I'm not sure. Is it damage buff? Is a damage nerf. So Arcane Comet getting a damage nerf overall. And then I believe that is the last thing that we have in terms of gameplay, because now we just have other things that aren't gameplay related. So again, I told you guys I was going to go through it quick. I talked really quick. I talk really fast. So I know for my non-English speakers, it's kind of annoying how fast I talk. But the point for me of as a YouTuber is to create videos that I would want to watch. And as a player, before I created YouTube videos, I always wanted people to just speed run the patch notes and tell me what I needed to know. Basically what you need to know. Tank champions, or just champions in general, becoming tankier. That's really the main thing that matters for this patch. There's all of the other different item changes, like the support changes that we went through, which are pretty important as well. But overall, everyone is going to be harder to kill. Everyone's going to be tankier, and that's really what you need to take away from this patch overall. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this YouTube video, and I will see you in the next YouTube video.